I'm going to be giving you my full squad assessment as we approach the final pre-season game and as we approach the start of the new season. Coming up soon, next Friday, Wycombe away in the EFL Cup. I'm going to be deep diving into every single position from goalkeeper to striker. I'm going to start shaping my starting 11 and we're going to have a look at how this side might look in a week or two's time. Are we nearly there in building another competitive side at League One level? Do we need any more signings? You'll all find out in this video. So firstly, in goal, we currently have two goalkeepers. You've got Philip Marshall and Max Woodford. I definitely do think we need a backup goalkeeper. We trialled Joshua Oluwemi in Spain on pre-season and we didn't take him, unfortunately. I don't think he was good enough, really, and we want someone that is of a higher level to challenge Philip Marshall because he does need that competition despite the fact of how good he is and how good of a season he did have last year. I honestly think that Philip Marshall has all the attributes to be considered the best goalkeeper in League One. I think he's already proved it in pre-season as well. His performance against Millwall was fantastic. So many point-blank saves, his consistency in saves and how he commands his area as well. Just needs to improve his distribution. I think that's his only probably weakness that he could improve. Yeah, I just think we need to go out and get that back up to replace Tay because I don't think it's fair just to chuck in Max Woodford. Now onto the defence. Alex Ravel made it really obvious that he will deploy the 3-5-2 this season, so I'll start with the centre-backs. You've got Carl Piergianni, Lewis Freestone, Jack Taylor and now Terence Van Kooten, who joined on Saturday. I think it's a back three of players that complement each other so well and they all add different attributes that we need in that defensive unit. Chris Freestone was unbelievable last season and the improvement from his first season at the club was incredible and he's really positioned himself as that successor to Carl Piergianni and he's got all the attributes, the power, the defensive ability, the pace as well. He can drive forward with the ball as well. He's a threat from set pieces. He has been fantastic and I think this season he can push on even further and really make that left centre-back role his own. 34 now, Carl Piergianni is still the face, still the heart of that back line and he will be until the day he departs. And a lot of people think that that could be at the end of this season, that this could be his final campaign at that top level. You know, and I feel like I could agree, but this season he's still going to be the mentor to a lot of players. He's still going to be that dominant force in our back line, winning us points, winning us games, keeping that clean sheet record and holding together that defensive unit because you've now got players that are rising to his level and that's fantastic. Back in the day, you would see Carl Piergianni always standing out alongside Dan Sweeney, alongside Charlie Good in the early days. You would always see him standing out. But now you've got Lewis Freestone who's rising to that level. You've got Terence Van Kooten whose attributes place him at that level. His on-the-ball qualities, his aerial abilities, his height, his stature puts him to that level as well. And you've got Jack Taylor, who can now be mentored by Pidge to maybe rise to that level for the club. And what's so great about Carl Piergianni is the fact that he will maintain that top level until the day he leaves. Then for me, the return of TVC is fantastic and just adds a completely different dimension to our defence because you're now adding someone whose on-the-ball qualities are fantastic. And, you know, the personality that he will add to the dressing room, it will be a huge boost. His intelligence, his versatility, it's just a move, I think, that suits everyone at the club. Revs is so happy that he's got a player like him to suit the system, to suit the 3-5-2. He suits it down to the ground. Under Revs, Terence Van Kooten will prove to be so important this season and he's going to turn into some player yet again for us. In terms of Jack Taylor, there was such a good player in there, such a promising young player in there that's already got National League experience with Sutton. But, of course, with the trialist playing on Saturday against Millwall, Connor Masterson, we could see Jack Taylor actually be loaned out, I think, to maybe a League 2 club to get some quality EFL minutes, and it wouldn't be too much of a bad thing. To be fair, I don't mind either option. Let me know what you think in the comments. Should Jack Taylor stay with us this season, or should he get some loan experience and we maybe bring in someone like Connor Masterson, who we are currently trialling? On to the fullbacks. At right back, you have Luther James Wilding and Jasper Pattenden, and then at left back, you've got Saxon Early and Dan Butler, but you can also put Phoenix Patterson in that equation as well. I think it's a really interesting dynamic as to who starts at right back this season. Of course, Luther had his injury troubles last season, but when he's on top form and he's playing games, he's so crucial. His leadership, his qualities, his defensive qualities, but also what he offers going forward. He's huge. But Jasper Pattenden, his performances at the back end of last season were unbelievable. And Luther had come back from injury and he was kept out of the team by a right-back that just did not drop his level. No one got past him. He was so consistent, offering so much in every area of the pitch. Jasper Pattenden was one of the players of the season in the last few months. He was absolutely unbelievable. And for me, what settles it in terms of who plays is who fits this 3-5-2. In Revs' mind, who's going to be that right back that's going to give the most defensively, but also going forward? Would it be Jasper Pattenden? Would it be Luther? Personally, I would want to play Jasper Pattenden based on what I've seen from him last season, but also in this pre-season. But I think he'll go with Luther, especially with Terence Van Kooten at right centre-back. I think that relationship on that right-hand side, if you pair those two, you'll see fantastic output from both of those players. It's a fantastic dynamic to have. Two unbelievable right-backs for us, really, that are performing at their best levels in their careers currently. And it's fantastic to have two quality right-backs. Who do you think will start? Jasper Pattenden or Luther James Wilding? And it's also such an incredible dynamic at left-back as well. And the options we have, it's a real testament to Revs, the recruitment team, and just who we're signing and who we're picking up. Because you've got Saxon Early, who comes in last season, and what he offers alongside Lewis Freestone on that left-hand side was fantastic, honestly. You've then also got the depth of Dan Butler, the qualities that he provides going forward especially. And then in these last few weeks, you've seen Phoenix Patterson being deployed at left wing-back. And again, it's a really interesting dynamic because he's played that position at Fleetwood. He's obviously got experience there. And Revs wants to see that defensive side of things from his fullbacks, from his wing-backs in this 3-5-2. In terms of Phoenix Patterson, you really want to see those attacking abilities more than you do those defensive side of things, because for me, I just think you overload him. If you're asking those defensive abilities and qualities from Phoenix, I don't think it's needed because you've got Lewis Freestone there who's going to provide all that. Because then all Phoenix needs is that freedom just to roam down that left wing side. Because all we want to see is his attacking qualities, is how he can cut down the byline and whip those crosses in. Because his technical ability needs to be prioritised over his defensive abilities. And I don't mind him. At left wing back, I don't mind him as long as those attacking abilities are being adhered to and he's allowed to have that freedom. Again, a really interesting dynamic. Who starts for you, Saxon Early or Phoenix Patterson? Now, into the midfield. Who starts for you? Here are the options. Jordan Houghton, Louis Thompson, Dan Phillips, Terry Taylor, Joe Knight, and I'm going to throw Dan Kemp in there as well because I don't think we will be playing with a number 10 this season. I just think with three midfielders in that 3-5-2. Now, who starts as the midfield three? Now, for me, that trio have got to tick all the boxes. You know, you've got to have someone that's anchoring, you've got to have someone that's going out there and intercepting, being that dynamo, and then someone that is a bit more creative. I think we saw it last season where you had Harvey White, who was that creative spark. You then had Dan Kemp, who was driving us up the pitch. You then had Louis Thompson or Dan Phillips were that aggressor, that anchor. And this season you want to see the same thing. And I've gone with Jordan Houghton, I've gone with Dan Phillips, and I've gone with Dan Kemp. Now, for me, it's a big season for Jordan Houghton. I feel like he's got all the experience and qualities we need. And you saw it at the start of last season alongside Harvey White, that when he was anchoring and when he was getting consistent minutes, he is fantastic in this league. And I think we need him in that team. And I think it's really beneficial that Revs has given him starts and consistent minutes in this pre-season. For me, Dan Phillips just has to be nailed on to start in that team. His consistency last season was unbelievable. And what he offered in terms of qualities, he didn't just offer what you think you get from Dan Phillips in terms of intercepting, in terms of tough tackling, in terms of bringing us up the pitch, but his on-the-ball qualities as well. His technical ability, I think he really showed what he can do last season and what he can offer in terms of a technical sense. And then what's brilliant is that you've got Dan Phillips, you can have him on the pitch for 60, 70 minutes even, and then you can bring Louis Thompson on, who for me is the midfield dynamo in our side. He offers absolutely everything across the board that you would want from a midfielder in terms of his defensive abilities. He scores, he assists, he gives everything to you. And what a great utility that is to have in your squad, because I don't think Louis will be a nailed-on starter, but if he is, he offers so much. But again, what's great about this midfield is that we do tick all the boxes. And then we've got players like Terry Taylor, who we've brought in, who again has got so many qualities, dictates play so well, a fantastic interceptor. As I've said, maybe gives us qualities that Harvey White didn't offer us. And to bring off the bench or to start in some games over Jordan Houghton maybe it's fantastic to have. And we haven't seen much of him yet, but Joe Knight is proven to be such a versatile option. And I think this season really will be his breakout campaign. Revs has really utilised him in a defensive centre-half position, actually, which is really useful in terms of our depth at the back, but also in midfield. If you're in Brighton's academy, you're going to offer a lot of great technical qualities. And I think it's really great that we can utilise that. If we can rotate him and give him opportunities this season, he really could prove to be a great wildcard option in our midfield. And then I've put Dan Kemp in there because, as I've said previously, I do not think that we should be or will play with a number 10 this season. I feel like the midfield area will be too easy to bypass if we do play like that again. And Dan Kemp's abilities from deep, when he drives the ball up the pitch, are really useful. Kempy's technical abilities are so integral to this team, and even though I've positioned him in this midfield role, it shouldn't just be like that. He should have a roaming role across the season, across the pitch, because that's where Kempy does his best. It's where he works his magic, and you need him to be in that roaming role. Let me know if you agree with my midfield trio. There's so many options you could go for, and that's a testament to this side and this midfield core. For me, Jordan Roberts is a really underrated figure in this side. He still offers so many useful qualities, and as he's obviously increased with age, I think his role in the side has altered. He's now versatile. He's now offering that experience. I wouldn't say he has those explosive qualities anymore, but what he doesn't have in that, he makes up for in his work rate, in his versatility and his physicality. You can play him out wide, you can play him in the middle, you can use him as depth, and then you can also partner him with Jamie Reid if needs be. And that's such a positive. That versatility is why Jordan Roberts still has a big role in this side this season. Now, the Chem Campbell conundrum is a really hard one to pinpoint because he hasn't had a pre-season and he's injured, of course, and he won't return until the first game of the season. And does he really fit in Revs' preferred 3-5-2? We saw that last season that wasn't really the case whatsoever, and he's got so many great technical abilities, and the goals he produced for us last season were of immense importance, and it's a shame that a player like him can't really fit in the system at the moment. And can you see a way in for him? I personally can't, but we'll see how things get on. And then, yep, this is the topic. This is the area of the pitch that everyone will be talking about. It's the topic every season. It's the final third, and it's the strikers. This season, currently, we have Jamie Reid, Josh Magennis, Ollie Sanderson and Joe Van Malcolm. Now, before I dive into what we need, let's currently assess what we have. We've got Jamie Reid, who is a proven striker in League One. He gets double figures season in, season out, and we know what he can do. Yes, he's had his inconsistencies, but when he's on top form and when you've got the players around supporting him, playing to his strengths, he is fantastic in this division. You've then got Josh Magennis, who is a 35-year-old striker who's got experience at the likes of Exeter, Hull in League One. He's got experience for Northern Ireland internationally, and he's a physical presence. He provides those qualities that I think will suit the system and will benefit Jamie Reid. Yes, his tallies over the last few years haven't been extremely promising, but he's a leader. He's a huge character in the dressing room that, as a backup, in my personal view, as a backup in the side, will really improve the team. And then Ollie Sanderson, who, in my opinion, is another striker that suits the system. Just in his case, he needs the development to improve to that Football League One level. Because last season he got 19 goals for Woking in the National League, and he's got a handful of EFL loans. He just needs that environment, that development to turn into a top striker. And in the future, we could see him turning into that top-level striker to partner someone like Jamie Reid. And I've been really impressed with the stuff that I've seen and the contributions I've seen from Ollie Sanderson in this pre-season. I think he's made a really good account of himself so far. And he's got all the skills necessary. I think you just need that development. And at the moment, I don't think he should be that starting striker. I think you give him that development across the season and see what he turns out like. He could be a fantastic option for this side with the necessary development. And then I think Joe Van has come under a lot of scrutiny that isn't necessarily needed, because I think there is definitely a player in there. Up front, maybe not. I think this pre-season he showed that he can be very useful out wide. He's got qualities there. I don't think his Barrow spell was the best for him. He just wasn't, of course, in the plans at the back end of last season. People forget that Joe Van Malcolm is still only 23 years old. And I think we need to give him more opportunities. But yet again, On the other hand, he does need to start taking them. And then we come on to the highly debated topic, which is, are we going to bring in a striker? Because I think that we are honestly 2 signings away from completing this side for this season. And it's a backup goalkeeper, as I've said earlier on, and this big striker. Because as much as those players suit the system, in terms of goals, in terms of quality, we're not competing with sides around us or above us in terms of where we want to be. And in terms of last season, we scored 49 league goals, and finishing 6th place, being as efficient as we were, that's an incredible achievement. Absolutely incredible. If we don't bring in someone else, I feel like we will be sitting here next year saying the exact same thing, that our weakness was in the final third, that we didn't go out and get someone that is going to produce us consistent goals alongside Jamie Reid, because the figures that Jamie Reid produces are fantastic, but he's the only one in the side every single season that produces those numbers. And a credit to Revs and the recruitment team, it's not like we're not trying. It's such a hard market to get anyone of a decent stature, of a decent reputation to come in and get you those goals. It's the hardest area of the pitch for a reason, of course, but you see these sides in and around you, like Alfie May going to Doncaster and David McGoldrick going to Mansfield, and you just want a bit of the pie. I know there's been links, and I'm assured that a deal for a striker will get done in the next couple of weeks as we prepare for this biggest season. But it's got to be someone that benefits Jamie Reid, in my opinion, because Jamie Reid is, of course, a nailed-on starter. He is the player that produces for us every season, and he's going to be starting. You're not going to take Jamie Reid out, but you need someone that pairs him, benefits him, but also produces to the same level, because that would take us from a side that are challenging, they're being efficient, into a side that are scoring goals, and we're clinical and we're rampant and we're ruthless. That's the quality that we need in this side to take us from, a competent side, a competitive side in this division, to one that's knocking on the championship door. And that's where we all want to be. So for me, it's 2 signings to complete this squad. It's that backup goalkeeper to obviously give competition to Philip Marshall and then to replace Tay, because I don't think it's correct giving Max Woodford and just throwing him into it. And then that striker, that big striker who is going to partner Jamie Reid, but also match him in terms of his output. It would take us from a side, as I've said, that are competitive, challenging at that top 10, top 6 range, to one that's knocking on the door. Our squad is shaping up once again. And for what we've been able to bring in, I think the recruitment has been really decent. Now, how would I set us up? Of course, in that 3-5-2, but I've got 2 versions, and they only really alter in the fullback positions. First up, you've got this version, of course, with Philip Marshall in goal, that back 3 that complements each other so well, of Lewis Freestone, Carl Piergianni, and new signing Terence Van Kooten. The only changes, so Saxon Early partnering Luther Wilding on the flanks. I think this provides a lot going forward, but also defensively, it's almost a fantastic back 5 of defenders. My midfield 3 are in there, and then Jamie Reid alongside that striker signing. He's got to come in. And then this is the second version, all the same, apart from Jasper Patterson and Phoenix Patterson on the flanks, giving you a bit more going forward, and maybe in terms of form last season and what you want to see going forward. And then defensively from Jasper Patterson, maybe this is the version that you would go with. Personally, I would go with this one. Borough fans, that is my final squad assessment as we come close to the beginning of the 26-27 season. And our squad is shaping up really nicely. I just think we need 2 additions. 1 backup goalkeeper and 1 big striker signing that will just level us up. From that competitive side where we're really decent, even better than decent, across the board, into a side that are ruthless going forward. If you've got someone that can partner Jamie Reid in terms of output and also benefit him as a striker, then we have got a fantastic side.